The folks over at Jim Beam Distilling Company have been very busy here in 2024, putting out more brand new releases than any other distillery out there. And a lot of those releases are extensions of already existing lines. Case in point, Booker's. This is Booker's The Reserves, which is a standalone release from the normal 4 that they put out every year. And this has a little bit higher of a price tag. But is this Booker's The Reserves worth that price tag? Well, in this video, I'm going to help answer that question by putting it to the taste test on my 10-point rating scale, which I like to call the lightning counter. This judges the nose, the palate, the finish, the mouthfeel, and the value, and stacks it up against all the other bourbons and whiskeys that I've already rated here in 2024. And in the end, you're going to find out if it is one of the top 10 bourbons of the year and if it's something you should be on the hunt for the next time you head out to the liquor store. Thanks for clicking on the video. You've stormed yourself here into the Whiskey Weather YouTube channel, where it is always whiskey weather. My name is Brandon Spinner. I am a TV meteorologist in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm here to help you figure out whether or not this is something you should be buying. Before I ask, I want to know what your favorite Booker's batch has ever been. I asked that in a previous video earlier this year, in a Booker's batch that I didn't think was that great, 2402. You can check out the full video up here on the top right of your screen. So let's dive right into it. What makes Booker's The Reserves so much better and so much more different than the other Booker's batches of this year and yesteryear? Well, this one comes in as one of the higher aged Booker's we've ever seen. 8 years, 2 months, and 12 days. The most recent batches have been closer to the 6 and 7 year mark. This one also has a blend of higher age bourbon. Now, let's get to the specifics and jump into it right away. Don't want to waste your time today. Proof point comes in right at 125.9. That is 62.95 for those ABV nerds. As far as the year, the official year, 8 years, 2 months, and 12 days old. What you will notice on the bottle is while the box is the same, the bottle's a little bit different. Usually the label has got more of a cream color. This one's got that same brown look as the wax. And what Freddie was looking for here when it comes to Booker's The Reserves is he said he wanted it to be something that Booker would be picking out himself. Let's read you the card, which I love, always conveniently comes in the box. It's got the story, but it also has a breakdown of what's inside the bottle. I'm not going to waste your time, but I'll read a little snip of it. Welcome to the very first batch of the Reserves, which tells you that they're probably going to have more down the road. It's a celebration of my granddaddy Booker's legacy. I'm honored to be part of something that means so much to us here at Beam and to all of you who've enjoyed it over the decades. In many ways, the Reserves is the same bourbon you know and love, always uncut, always unfiltered, just as Booker envisioned when he created his small batch bourbon. But in other ways, the Reserves is something new. I've taken my granddaddy Booker's and put it in on a path to the future, expanding its flavor profile with the most exceptional liquids in a rack house and rick houses, and it's the kind of bourbon I believe he'd be making if he were still here with us now. So let's see if it's any good. The breakdown of this, I mentioned that it is 8 years old. It is a blend of 8 different bourbons, and those come out to be, as you see on the bottle, you have to put the youngest age, and that is 8 years, 2 months, and 12 days old, but it's also made up an 8 year, 5 month, another 8 year and 5 month, 9 year, 2 months, another 9 year and 2 months, one 9 year and 5 month old, a 10 year and 3 month old, and then a 14 year and 4 month old bourbon from all different rack houses and warehouses across the Jim Beam campus. So let's dive into Booker's The Reserves and see where it rates. Right off the bat, man, that nose is fantastic. You don't get the general nuttiness that I get from a lot of those other Booker's batches. There's a lot of the dark fruits. There's a lot of brown sugar. Man. Brown sugar, the toasted char from the barrel really comes through. There's some of the nuttiness, but not a ton of it. Like creme brulee. That's really, really good. That's one of the better noses so far this year. Yeah. Brown sugar is the thing that just keeps coming to my mind. There's those cherries. This is the best nose I've had from a Booker in a while. We're going to 1.9. It's a high score on the nose. Very good score. So a 1.9. Let's see what it tastes like. kill off the bacteria, and let's go in for the taste. So, well, the nuttiness wasn't there on the nose. I do get it on the palate, but there's a whole lot more depth to it. Wow, that's really good. The back half, I will say, it drinks warmer towards the end. It's 126 proof or close to it, 125.9. You start to feel it towards the back end rather than the front end. There's a cherry cola note, but not overpowering. Very sweet, very delicious. That charred oak comes through. Some of that creme brulee, but not much. It's a little more bitter than the sweetness that I had on the nose, but still very delicious. Palate score, we're gonna go to 1.7. Very delicious. The nose and the palate match, which is one of my favorite things. There's a little bit more sweetness on the nose, but it's not like the sweetness goes away on the palate. It's just a little bit more oaky and bitter towards the end. But we've got 14-year-old bourbon in here, so you'd expect that a little bit. Okay. There's a sweetie and saltiness to it too. It sounds weird. It's almost like a chocolate covered pretzel, like one of those pretzel rods. I get some of the saltiness, like a savory aspect with that sweet. That is enjoyable. Yeah, 1.7. This is very enjoyable. I already like this better than any of the Booker's batches that I've had over the last couple of years. And I might say this is already better than the Infinite. The Infinite rated like in the top 5 so far. Wow. Well, next up is the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel is very creamy. It doesn't have as many legs. Oh, excuse me. It doesn't have as many legs on the glass as I would expect for how oily and viscous it is in the mouth. But yeah, that's very good. Mouthfeel, I enjoy that. Warm, but it's not overpowering. It coats the entire mouth. Even has a little bit of that tingling numminess to it. I'm going to go with a 1.8. So we're at a 1.9, 1.7, 1.8. And next up is the finish. Yeah, that mouth feels very buttery and warming. Buttery, creamy, and warm. The finish itself, flavorful, but that's when it starts to get hot. That's probably my least favorite aspect out of all of this. I would say if it wasn't as hot, I get a little more of that cinnamon spice at the back end. There's some baking spices there, a little bit of nutmeg, and that cinnamon, of course, but cinnamon and leather really come through, and it kind of takes the identity of the finish for me, which is not always my favorite, but it doesn't take away from the full experience. We're going to go with a 1.5. So not a bad part, but that is probably my least favorite part of the bourbon itself. Yeah, so a 1.5 there on the finish. So we've got a 1.9, a 1.7, a 1.8, and a 1.5. Now it's time for the value. Didn't mention it already, but the price tag on this MSRP is $129.9. I was able to grab that at that price at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which you saw here. I spent nearly my entire mortgage for the month in September at the Kentucky Bourbon Fest. You can check out that video here, or later on in the video I'll have a link to it as well. But the value of $130, that's $30 higher than the normal Booker's MSRP of $100. I tell you what, I think that this is worth it. It's better than the other Booker's batches. I think this is better than the Infinite, personally, and the Infinite was a very good one. That's the little book. Just did that review. You can also check that up there on the top right of your screen. Top right of your screen. However, the Booker's, the reserves, it's cheaper, it's better. We're going to go to 1.6 on the rating scale. So 1.9, 1.7, 1.8, 1.5, 1.6. I say 1.6 because I would totally get a backup bottle of this if I could find it. Haven't seen a backup yet, but yes, very good. one of the better pours out there. I think this might be one of the top pours of the year in my mind so far. Definitely my favorite bean product of 2024. So 1.9, 1.7, 1.8, 1.5, 1.6 all comes together for a total lightning counter score of 8.5. Very, very good. Very, very good. 8.5 Booker's the Reserves. That is a top 5 bourbon of the year so far for me this year. As you see there on your screen, falls a little shy of the Russell's 15, the Michter's, the Old Fitzgerald VVS, and then the Limestone Farms Private Select. Top 5, but it's better than the Infinite. So if you had a choice at your liquor store, personally, I would say go for the Booker's the Reserve rather than the Infinite. They're both good, but this is cheaper, and in my mind, it's much better of a pour. Overall, very yummy. I'm excited that I got a bottle. Some of those Booker's batches, you never know what you're going to get. The only reason I bought this was because I knew it was something different, had a little bit more hype around it, and I got to sample a little bit of it of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival with the boys over at Bourbon Lens. If you haven't checked out their podcast, they're really cool dudes as well. But yeah, that's the final forecast, gentlemen and ladies. Very good. Booker's the Reserves. If you are a fan of Booker's, this is better than any other Booker's you've probably had before, because this is one of the best that I have tried as well. Hope you got a lot out of that. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The best way to support this channel, actually send this video to your friend and let them check it out and see if it's something that they're interested in. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to be part of the Whiskey Weather Stormfront, you may want to join the Patreon crew. Patreon members will be getting first access to my next barrel pick, which will be dropping here in the next few weeks. It is a Green River single barrel pick, coming in at a 128.3 proof. Patreon members get first access to that, and you can join from as low as $3 a month all the way up to $25 if you want to be part of the Legends tier. You see all my amazing Patreon members right there on the screen, and you can also hit the join button below, because those YouTube members also get a chance at that as well. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember, it is always whiskey weather. Make sure you're staying safe. We'll see you in the next video. You can check out more bourbon reviews up there on the top right. Cheers, y'all.